Welcher Fall kommt als nächstes?
Hat es mit Feuer zu tun?
Das finden wir jetzt raus. Herzlich willkommen in der Welt der interaktiven Geschichten. Ich bin Kiki und das ist mein heutiger Gast.
Charles.
Charles, wir haben Marias Cookie. Marias Schokoladencookie.
Oh.
Ja.
Marias Cookies.
Also...
Es enttäuscht mich. Oh, es sind sogar zwei.
Tatsache. Ich habe gedacht erst, das wären Doppelkeks, aber nein, es sind zwei.
Ja, das sieht
Ein für jeden.
So aus.
Ja, genau, so ein bisschen wie Prinzenrolle, nur, kennt ihr ja. Aber nein, es sind zwei und sie haben Keks mit Schokolade. Oh, und da steht auch Maria drauf, aus Caracas.
Oh mein Gott, das ist Caracas. Lies doch mal. Leute,
Ja.
bitte lesen. Wer mit dem Feuer spielt?
So, wer mit dem Feuer spielt, los geht's. Oh.
Typische CSI Transition. Oh.
I need you to go investigate another crime. Sarah will meet you on the site and give you
Sarah.
the details. She's one of our best. You can learn a lot from her.
Okay, cool.
Looks like somebody's been playing with matches.
What we seem to have here is a break-in and arson. According to his statement, Jason Gray, the homeowner, left his house around 11:30 p.m. to go for a run.
Okay.
He was gone for a little over an hour, came back to find his home office ablaze. Got the fire out, but lost most of his office gear, computer, desk, the works. We've already canvassed the neighborhood, but nobody saw anything or anybody suspicious. Wish I had more for you.
That's what we're here for, officer. We'll start processing the scene, but we're going to want to chat with Mr. Gray. Sorry we had to meet here at the scene. I'm Sarah Seidel. Glad you could come aboard CSI. It was getting kind of old being the new kid myself.
Okay.
Anyway, I hear good things about you. We're going to pair up just fine.
Okay, cool. Ja, Sarah mochte ich eigentlich auch mal ganz gerne. So, also.
We'll want to test for accelerants, things that started the fire. This looks like a typical burn pattern, lots of charred samples and residual gas in the air.
So Gas gucken.
Ja.
Ja.
Aha.
Are you sure you haven't done this before? Little luck. Greg will tell us something useful from the sample.
Okay, cool. Jo. Was haben wir denn? Oh, hier ist noch was.
There's a redial button. Maybe we should find out who the last person was on the other end.
Ach. Hab ich nicht getroffen.
Yeah, leave a message.
Pleasant. Sounds like Ray keeps good company.
Ja, jetzt haben wir da schon drauf gepackt, ne? Na gut, jetzt gibt's hier wahrscheinlich
Mit
das
dem
Feuer.
Pilzen verfinden am Drucken auf so auf.
Ja,
Bei
genau.
Wiederholung geklickt.
Ja, okay, das Feuer hat sowieso alles zerstört wahrscheinlich, aber es liegt im
Every fire has its share of survivors. This is not one of them. If the perps were grabbing up Gray's papers before lighting them, we might find a survivor. Fingerprints. Too fragile to dust, but there's other ways to check
Ja,
for
wir haben
prints.
noch mehr.
Statisch.
Genau. Wir haben...
Beweisaufnahme.
Ja. Das. Nein?
We can't use that here.
Das.
Hä?
We can't use that here.
Probier nochmal.
We can't use that here.
Hä?
Das Printlifter. Klebeband? Nein. Drücke? Nein. Nein. Zettel? Nein. Nee. Da war was anderes. Finger.
Ja, das genau.
Das meine ich auch. Ja. Okay. Dann haben wir das. Das ist schon mal schön.
Ein Indiz.
Nehmen wir das mit.
Every fire has its share of survivors. This is not one of them. If the perps were grabbing up Gray's papers before lighting them, we might find a survivor. Fingerprints. Too fragile to dust, but there's other ways
Kann
to
man leider
check
auch
for
nicht
prints.
überspringen.
Ja, Sarah redet ja auch immer so sowieso.
Ja.
Ah, da unten ist so.
Was? Was ist
Da
da?
hinter den Dresen.
Wo?
This lighter's an antique, so maybe it's just a collectible, but the cap's been screwed off and it's empty. Anything that could have started this fire is important. Collect
Aber
it.
erst Fingerabdrücke mache ich mal. Ist immer gut, weil irgendjemand hat das ja aufgeschraubt, ne?
Irgendjemand hat das.
There's no prints here. There's no prints here.
Dann nehmen wir es mit.
Boom.
Boom. So, hier ist noch was.
Rag fragments. Smells greasy. I don't imagine Mr. Gray was working on his car in here, do you?
Ah,
Okay. Auch hier irgendwas Spannendes. Nein. Nee.
We can't use that here.
Was ist denn das? Ach ja, Fingerabdrücke.
There's no prints here.
Ja, dann nehmen wir es halt mit. So. Alles klar, alles klar. Das Telefon haben wir schon. Ja, das haben wir. Das glaube ich so nichts mehr. Nein. Gut. Ja, dann.
also Glas auf dem Boden.
Glass on the floor could mean the window was broken from
Yeah,
outside. So our arsonist could have been standing just outside that window before the fun began.
Kann man ein Stück Glas nehmen?
We can't use that here.
Mit der Pinzette.
We can't use that here.
Okay, okay. Einfach wahrscheinlich vielleicht nutzen.
Well, we know the window's broken. What we need to know is how it got that way.
Also ja, das haben wir da vom Boden gesehen. Gehen wir mal nach draußen. So, das, dann müsste man eigentlich
Aha.
hier,
Oh,
ne, Fußabdrücke. So, dann haben wir, da.
Does that look like a shoe print to you? Me neither.
ah.
Cast it. Maybe Gray can give us a lab rat's eye view that'll tell us what the heck it is.
Aha. Sehr schön. Gut, okay. So, ja, das...
Ah, da ist.
Grissom says let the evidence tell the story. So, if this window was broken from here, why so many shards outside?
Das ist eine gute Frage. So.
Kann man nicht ein Stück Fenster mitnehmen? So weird.
There's no prints
Stimmt.
here.
Aha.
Haben wir gemacht. Okay. Ja, hier, wir entwickeln uns zu Profis langsam, ne? Ah, vielleicht die Knie.
Das wird voll sein, ne?
Ja.
Oder das dritte Bein.
Ich habe aber nur 2 Abdrücke gesehen. Rosito, ich bin empört.
Das war ein
ja.
Der ist so empört. Oh mein Gott! Wer hat das alles
I'm
gemacht?
Jason Gray. You the officers who wanted to speak with me?
We're with the Las Vegas Crime Lab, Mr. Gray. Criminalists. Sorry about your
Wir haben
house.
erstmal alles
We just have a
durchsucht
few
und reden dann mit
questions.
ihm.
Anything I can do to help. I hope there's some chance you can find whoever did this to me.
Was ist hier passiert?
Guck mal, jetzt steht's auf Deutsch.
Hey, crazy.
Ja.
Well, as I told the officer, I went out to get a little exercise. I do this when I can't sleep. It must have been around 11:30 because it was after the news. At any rate, I wasn't gone for much more than an hour 15 at the most. But as I was walking home, I could see a strange light coming from my office. And then I caught a whiff of smoke and the alarms went off. Mentally, I mean. I rushed in and somehow managed to put the fire out, best I could.
Was würde beschädigt?
Well, I haven't taken a complete inventory, but obviously my computer, and with it, all my files and research, projects, client database. It'll take months to reconstruct it all. I should have kept backup disks in a safe deposit box, but damn hindsight. At least my insurance will cover some of it.
Kennen Sie jemanden, das in
Maliciously, you mean?
Oh,
I don't know, really. Not unless... Well, there is one person, but I can't imagine James Ritchie.
What?
He's my biggest rival in the field, aviation design. Anyway, we go way back, not all of it good. He's been stealing clients away for a long time, and he's got a checkered past, to say the least. Still find it hard to believe.
Verdächtig. Wissen Sie, wo wir James Ritchie finden können?
He's got several offices around town. I couldn't hazard a guess where he'd be right now.
Kennen Sie dieses Feuerzeug?
Yes, of course. Kind of a keepsake I'd misplaced. Thanks for finding it.
Ja. Es könnte beim Dings eine Rolle gespielt haben bei dem Brand. Aber gut. So. Was haben wir gesehen? Ach, hier unten ist noch was.
Fire could have started here. House fires typically double in size every 30 seconds. Gray seems to have gotten to it pretty quickly.
Aha.
Aha. Was ist denn das?
It's colored and rounded. Definitely not window glass.
So wie eine Flasche, so ein Molotow-Cocktail.
Ja, genau. Ups.
There's no prints here.
Was?
We can't use that here.
Okay, kann ja sein, dass sich jemand dran geschnitten hat. Okay. Dann nehmen wir es mit.
Book.
Ever hear of a Molotov cocktail? That's one part
Genau.
rag, one part bottle, and one part liquid accelerant. Could be what started this fire.
Ja, könnte sein. So, hier ist noch was.
Looks like some burned wood scraps.
Nehmen wir auch mit.
Ja.
You should process burned material like this for accelerants before you pick it up.
Okay. Es gibt bestimmt auch wieder Punktabzug, dass sie uns das sagt.
Ja, dann Geruchsdings oder so. Untersuchung.
Naja.
Hä? Da mit dem Spray?
We can't use that here.
Was? Nein. Nee, keine Ahnung.
Try using a similar tool. We can't use that here.
Ich versuche alles. Fingerabdrücke auf...
There's no prints here.
Nee, sie will nach Benzin suchen, aber ich weiß nicht wie.
aber... Trialspuren?
We can't use that here. We can't use that here.
Sie sagte irgendwas mit...
Try using a similar tool. We can't use that here. We can't use that here.
Was musste das sein?
We can't use that here. There's nothing special there. There's nothing special there. There's nothing special there.
Komisch. Was hat sie nochmal gesagt?
You should process burned material like this for accelerants before you pick it up.
Aber bevor wir das nehmen, müssen wir das irgendwie nach Brennbeschleunigung checken.
Ja.
Dann vielleicht hiermit?
We can't use that here.
Okay.
We can't use that here. We
Ja,
can't
genau,
use
so
that
viele Sachen
here.
haben wir ja nicht.
Nee.
We can't use that
Ein muss
here.
er sein.
We can't use that here.
Untersuchen halt, ne? Aber... Ja, aber... Gasen, Brandbeschleuniger...
Klick dann machen.
Beautiful.
Was?
Hydrocarbons and most other accelerants fluoresce under ultraviolet
Ach so.
light. This is a good sample for Gray.
Okay, ja gut. Habe ich jetzt nicht gewusst, aber gut, das nehmen wir jetzt
Das
mit.
wollten wir von Anfang an so.
Unbedingt. Gut, okay, haben wir gemacht. Das haben wir schon geguckt. Und dann gehen wir mal ins Labor, würde ich sagen.
Ja,
haben
ja,
jetzt
ganz
schon,
viele Sachen.
Ja, wir haben viel gesammelt.
We got an arson case and need some tests run.
Well, and it's a pleasure to see you too, Sarah. But I'm starting to feel like this relationship is kind of lopsided. I give, you take.
How about I make it up to you by giving you this evidence to analyze for us?
Somehow I don't think I'm making my point. So, you got a hot case, huh?
A hot
Yeah,
case.
well, let's have a look.
So,
Check mal, Holz.
Holz.
Traces of accelerant. What you have here is lighter fluid. That's wine bottle glass.
Ah.
I could have told you that back in my college days. What I couldn't have told you is the chemical composition's very similar to glass used in bottle factories, South American bottle factories. And I found traces of an accelerant from the fuel oil #1 family to boot. Judging by the radial fractures and hackle marks, you've got a window broken in with a great deal of force. Funny peculiar, I mean, erosion patterns suggest the outside of the window is traveling away from the source of impact. What we have here is a rag containing the delicate bouquet of fuel oil number 1 family, an accelerant. But it's a popular rag with lots of other party guests, dirt, grease, and a turbine oil used only in commercial aviation. Strong possibility that our fuel oil number 1 accelerant was jet fuel. And one more tasty tidbit for you, that rag's made of cotton fiber. And I'm not talking an old t-shirt here. It's exotic, one of 2 of almost 700 known cotton germplasms, one of which can only be found in Guatemala, while the other is native to northern regions of Ecuador.
Was? Das ist ja schon sehr speziell, aber Craig weiß das ganz schön viel.
Rag, jet fuel, and a broken bottle. One Molotov cocktail coming right up, or that is, apart.
Tja. Nicht schlecht. So.
What do you need?
Ja, wir sind noch nicht
Das
fertig.
hier.
Do I have to tell you it's a lighter? And that it once contained lighter fluid?
Ja, gut. Okay. Dann haben wir keine Dokumente, aber wir haben einen Abdruck.
Was ist das?
Well, what this isn't is a shoe print. It may be a knee print,
Sag ich doch.
but I'm fresh out of knee print databases, so I can't do much with it at the moment.
Knie-Datenbank ist nicht
Die
aktualisiert.
Kniedatenbank habt ihr gar nicht. Bin
Sorry,
enttäuscht.
can't do anything with that.
Was ist das letzte?
Ach, auch.
Ah, genau, das kann er ja.
You're gonna love this. It's as simple as ABC. A, it's lighter fluid. B, it's not lighter fluid. It's from the fuel oil number 1 family. Or C, it's both.
What?
Now that I've compared it to the earlier sample, I can say without question, it was aviation jet fuel.
Oh. Krass. Okay. Dann suchen wir mal.
Suchen!
Suche.
Aha.
Dann zeig doch mal.
We have an APHIS match to James Ritchie, charged with insurance fraud 4 years ago. Case was dropped, however.
Das ist auch sehr interessant. Okay, dann gehen wir mal hier zu Brass, ne? Würde ich mal sagen.
Any breaks in the arson?
Ja, überprüft mal James Ritchie.
Well, let's pull him up. Seems Mr. Ritchie has a prior for insurance fraud. Promising. Charges were eventually dropped. But you know what they say? Where there's smoke,
Da ist er Feuer. Können Sie James Ritchie ausfindig machen?
his company has a few offices scattered around Vegas. But the downtown branch seems to be the HQ.
So.
I'd start there.
Gut, neuer Ort. Super. Das.
Hui.
Hui, nix wie hin.
Heard about what happened to Gray. Shame. Happy to help.
Ja,
If you can keep it short. I have a meeting in 15 minutes.
besitzen Sie ein Flugzeug, genau.
Well, strange as it may seem, considering my business, I don't. My obsession is sailing. You've probably already learned that Gray has a pilot's license. I think I remember hearing he keeps a plane here in town.
So. So, wie gut kennen Sie Mr. Gray?
He's a competitor, just not much of one. We both manage companies that design commercial airplane prototypes, and his business has been in a tailspin for more than a year. It's not my fault his dissatisfied clients come looking for a home.
Haben Sie Mr. Gray einmal bedroht?
Why would I? He's barely on my radar. I would say, if anything, Gray feels threatened by yours truly. You know, he even approached me, begging to buy him out a couple of weeks back, as if I wanted what was left of his excuse for a company. I didn't threaten him, I laughed in his damn face.
Wo waren Sie zum Zeitpunkt des Feuers?
You can't seriously think I had anything to do with...
Der lacht mir zu viel.
Look, I'm not Jason Gray's biggest fan, but I don't go around burning houses down, even when I don't care for somebody. As for my whereabouts, you might check with the other 150 passengers on my flight, coming in from Chicago, flight 157.
Das kann man vielleicht überprüfen. Erzählen Sie uns von Ihrer Kriminalakte.
Ei.
I have no criminal
Was?
record. Those charges were dropped. This is still America, isn't it?
Ihre Fingerabdrücke waren auf einem Blatt Papier, in der wohnt.
So what? I have had dealings with Gray. We've exchanged our share of documents over the years.
Kennen Sie Mr. Grays Freund?
If you're fishing for those drug rumors, I won't be part of that. However I may feel about Gray, I don't intend to get involved in character assassination. Anyway, what a man does in his private life is his own concern.
Na dann. War das alles? Scheinbar.
Tja, da müssen wir dann einer noch fragen, wo hat er sein Flugzeug dann?
Yes?
So, hat er ein
Aha.
We'll just check civil aviation
Ja.
records and see. Corporate Learjet Tango 146, registered to his company.
Aha.
Last place it was hangared was Henderson Executive Airport. See if it's still there.
Noch ein Ort. So, hier, James Ritchie. War der auf dem Flug? Kann man ja auch alles
Give me a
checken.
second. Airline manifest confirms Ritchie was on that flight.
Okay.
Got in at 12:12.
Okay.
Ja, aber 12:12. Das Feuer brach so nachmittags aus. Also er hätte das schaffen können. Hätte Fahrradkette, ne? So. Aha, wie hübsch. Was ist denn das hier?
Gray made a fuel purchase not long
In
ago for
Ecuador.
an international airport in Quito, Ecuador.
Nehmen wir mit.
Interessant.
In Ecuador also.
Ja, in der Tat, in der Tat. Mächtig verdächtig. So, was haben wir hier? Werkzeug. Und ein Zettel.
Looks like our high-flying exec wasn't exactly candid with us about the state of his corporate affairs. We have a man seriously behind schedule here, facing a loss of a cool $1.5 million. That's what we CSIs call a motive.
Nehmen wir mit.
Ja, achso. Wollen wir da vielleicht noch ein bisschen?
Ja, genau.
There's no prints here.
Wer hat das alles betatscht?
Ja. Genau. So, nehmen wir mit. Was haben wir noch? Ist da was? Nein. Schränke sind.
They're locked. Guess we won't be getting in there.
Ja, machen wir eine...
Durchsuchungsbefehl und
Genau.
so, ne? Das besorgen wir uns früher oder später. Gar kein Problem. Hier sind so Stofflappen. Da guck.
Wollen wir die riechen?
Ja, vielleicht, ne?
Mit der Riechenmaschine.
Die
We
Riechmaschine.
can't use that here.
Dann nehmen wir das mit der Nebenmaschine.
Yeah.
We can't use that
Die
here.
Nähmaschine. Sehr schön, sehr schön. Können wir das vergleichen, den Stoff und so? Ja, nee, die klicken wir nicht an, sonst kriegen wir Punktabzug.
Kann man checken, ob das sein Flugzeug ist?
Oh, hier ist was.
Tango
Aha.
146.
Aha.
Gray's plane, all right.
Haben wir gecheckt.
Tja, ich glaube, der muss ein bisschen was erklären hier, ne?
Ja, wir untersuchen jetzt, wir gehen noch mal kurz ins Labor.
So our hot case is heating up, and you need the Sanders touch.
Der hot case is
Without
heating
me,
up.
it's all guesswork, right? And Grissom just hates hunches.
You know what else Grissom hates? Slow lab work.
Das war hart.
Mann.
So, das haben wir hier. Gleich das mal bitte.
Hanger rag and the fragment from Gray's home share the same rare cotton germplasm. Species is definitely of Ecuadorian origin.
Das ist ja schon sehr verdächtig. Sprungabdrücke. Ja, aber das reicht eigentlich schon, um den zu befragen, ne? Weil das schon so...
You guys are moving fast on this arson case. Got a new lead?
Können wir den mal einladen, bitte?
Guy torched his own house, huh? Well, let's bring him in for a chat. Maybe he's just burning to confess.
Oh Mann, so cheesy CSI.
Mr.
¿Qué
Gray,
pasa?
I think you know why you're here.
Wunderschön.
We've gathered considerable evidence indicating that you lied to us about the fire at your home.
Cooperate. Make it easier on us, we'll make it easier on you.
I've told you everything I can think of. No intention on my part to be deceptive.
So,
Warum wurde auf der Außenseite Ihres Bürofensters Glas gefunden?
I don't know anything about that. I'm the victim
Ach.
here, you know?
Haben Sie kürzlich Wein aus Südamerika gekauft? Gekauft.
haben Sie das gekauft?
Gekauft habe ich
Mit
nicht.
einer Kredit.
Sometimes I purchase wine when I'm down there.
Kreditkarte.
There's a fine local winery. So what? What am I being accused of? Drinking and driving?
Kaufen Sie Flugzeugbenzin übrigens.
Are you joking? Of course I do. I own a plane and I'm active in the aviation industry. Jet fuel's good for killing weeds. Always keep a little in my back shed.
Ja, was hier mit dem Lappen, den wir im Hangar gefunden haben.
I have a bunch of those
Yeah.
rags. I don't know where I picked them up. There must be
So dumm,
thousands of
ne?
rags like that in Nevada.
Sind Sie vielleicht mit der Erfüllung Ihres Vertrages in Verzug?
What business is that of yours? My office is a charred ruin. I lose most of my key records and you're nosing into my clients?
Oh,
We have all the evidence we need to make an arrest, Mr. Gray. I just wanted to give you an opportunity to make it easy for both of us. We can do this the hard way.
das war kurz jetzt.
I guess you're right.
Was?
Aber
What's
sie
the
sind halt
use?
gut, ne?
Wo?
You got the goods on me. You're right. I was way behind on that contract, looking right into the face of financial ruin. It had been building up over the last few weeks. The pressure. But it was spur of the moment. An impulse. I grabbed a rag and that bottle of jet fuel in the shed and smashed it on my office floor. You know, to suggest somebody pitched a Molotov cocktail. I added fuel to the fire, literally. Emptying my lighter on the desk, making sure to douse some letters on top, including one from James Ritchie. I put it out with the fire extinguisher I brought with me from the shed. Then it occurred to me, I ought to make it look more like a break-in, so I busted out a window in the office. But even as I was doing it, I saw the pieces of glass tumbling onto the ground outside and realized I'd screwed up. So I went out and tossed them back in. That's everything, I think.
After all that lying, don't you feel better now?
Mr. Gray, we didn't secure your shed because it wasn't part of the original crime scene. Could we have your permission to check it now, to confirm your story?
You need me to do that?
A judge would give us a warrant easy enough, but you letting us skip that step would be another gold star in your cooperation column.
That's what I'm trying to do. Cooperate. Go ahead. My house is your house.
Ach, das ist noch nicht vorbei. Ich dachte, er hat schon gestanden. Ja, vielleicht ist da ja noch mehr.
Gray's story sounds way too strange. Let's check this area for collaborating evidence just to be safe.
Okay. Ah, da ist
Ja.
Ah.
Oh, Fußabdrucke.
Fußabdruck, genau.
This looks like a deep impression, so it may be recent.
Und an das andere Fuß. Aha.
Ja.
Pretty slick job of casting there. Are you sure you weren't a pro at
Nee.
this?
Nee, wir sind voll gut. Haben wir
Ja.
schon eine ganze Folge lang gemacht.
Ja, jetzt. Ja, genau, voll die Profis jetzt. So.
Make sure you check the handle for prints before you touch it.
Ja,
What?
Fingerabdrucke.
Ah,
erst
ja,
mal.
ja, ja, ja. Ah, es gibt bestimmt wieder Punktabzug, dass wir das nicht gleich gemacht haben. Was? Verstehe nicht. Hä?
Ja, nimm doch mal die Pinsel.
Na gut. Das war jetzt ein bisschen umständlich, aber okay. So, alles klar gemacht.
Fingerprints are mostly moisture. They evaporate pretty quick in the dry air around here. Means these prints are recent. But looks like we've got two overlapping sets of recent prints. If one belongs to Gray, the computer may be able to separate them in the lab.
Okay. Gut. Jetzt können wir rein.
Yuck, that's nasty. Definitely smells like gasoline. Gray's confession is holding up. These are obviously the wine bottles. Ecuadorian vintage, too. There's no prints here.
Hier ist auch noch was. Ja. Okay.
Muss man das Leuchten riechen oder nehmen?
We can't use that here. We can't use that here. We can't use that here.
Was machen wir jetzt damit?
We can't use that here. We can't use that here.
Das hätten wir. Ah, hier vielleicht so ein bisschen.
There's no prints here.
Hier.
Stimmt.
There's
das
no
wäre gut.
prints here. There's no prints here.
Kann man das einfach nehmen?
Ja, gute Frage, ne?
We can't use
Ah,
that
die
here.
Kappe.
We can't use that here.
Okay. Weiß ich auch nicht, was sie möchten.
Ja, vielleicht hier. Ist das
There's no prints here.
irgendwas Spannendes?
There's nothing special there. There's nothing special there.
Hier, bei den Pixeln. Nein. Komisch. Eine Probe von dem
Ja,
Inhalt.
okay, das ergibt Sinn
das
eigentlich.
stimmt. So, und hier vielleicht irgendwas Spannendes noch. Weil hier haben wir eigentlich.
There's no prints here.
Hast recht.
We can't use that here.
Irgendwas mit Blut.
We can't use that here.
Nein.
Plötzlich eine Leiche da drin.
There's nothing special there.
Ja. Nehmen wir die mit? Ja.
Ah.
Nehmen wir einfach mit. So, okay. Haben wir alles? Kanister haben wir untersucht.
Oh, was ist das hier?
What do you want to bet this thread matches the rag in the house and the ones from the hangar?
Schnapp. Nehmen wir mit. Dann, ich hatte mal nicht. Das war der Kanister, aber war hier noch irgendetwas. Ja. Das war der Kanister, stimmt. Okay. Nee, okay. Dann haben wir das. Und dann gehen wir mal ins Labor vielleicht. Da gibt es doch bestimmt noch einiges zu untersuchen.
Is it my charisma that keeps you coming back for more?
Natürlich.
Or just my brilliant intellect?
Beides. So. Gegenstände.
Oh, den Wein weiß er schon direkt, okay.
What?
Sorry, can't do anything with that.
Aber hier haben wir ganz viel.
Sorry,
Ah,
Can't
vielleicht
do
muss das
anything
in
with
dem
that.
Vergleichding.
Aber das musst du.
Ja, genau.
and survey says we have a match. Same jet fuel used in Jason Gray's little indoor bonfire. Exact same composition.
Okay.
Boom.
Ja.
Once again, we have our same rare cotton germplasm. Hey, keep bringing me these samples. It's not going to be so rare.
Okay. Also, Suche und Vergleiche. Sind das übrigens erstmal dieselben? Nee, sind sie nicht.
Nee, ne?
Sind sie nicht. Das
Vielleicht
sieht
kann
man
man
eigentlich auch auf den ersten Blick, ne?
die einzeln suchen,
Ja.
ob da so einen bestimmten Schuhding ist.
Aha.
So much for Gray being Mr. Cooperation. Prints from an 11 and a half boot. About 2 sizes bigger than his feet.
Ah, das sind ja gar nicht seine Schuhe gewesen.
Nee. Und die vielleicht schon.
Okay, shoe print came from a size 9 runner, which matches Gray's size.
Okay, also das könnte
Und
von ihm sein.
der halbe Fingerabdruck?
Ja, auch. Aber ich zeige ihm das hier erstmal.
Sorry, can't do anything with that.
Gut. Ja. Separiere.
Ah,
Aha.
We separated our twins, and both have survived.
Okay.
We've got 2 sets of prints now.
Cool. Und wo wir schon mal da sind.
ja, dann suchen wir das mal, was das bedeutet.
Genau. Aha.
Yep, these are Gray's prints. They were entered in the system earlier.
Okay.
Und das
Der hier?
andere, der Kompliz.
Ja, genau. Aha, jetzt wird's spannend.
Stan Gins?
Was?
What?
Wonder if Gray can tell us why he's got a drug dealer in his backyard.
Der Drogendealer. Aha. Brass. Du musst noch jemanden einladen.
Ja, mit ihm wollen wir gerne sprechen.
Make me happy.
Ja, make me happy.
Tell me Gray's confession checks out.
Geht so.
Hier.
Ja, genau.
Good
Stan
call.
hätten wir gern.
Maybe he can tell us why Mr. Gray's confessing and lying at the same time.
Mr. Gins, there was a fire at the home of Jason Gray. You've been brought in for questioning on the matter.
Wie ist Ihr Verhältnis zu Mr. Gray?
We've done some business. What kind of business? That's between me and my client. But I don't know from fires, okay?
Wo waren wir denn zu der Zeit?
Out and about. Little walk around the neighborhood.
Ja.
That's still legal, right?
Welche Größe haben Ihre Schuhe?
Tja,
Well, I own a pair of 11 and a half
Aha.
feet. You do the math.
Interessant. Ja, das haben wir dann geklärt, ne?
ja, da muss man mit den anderen vielleicht sprechen.
Mit wem?
Mit der Besitzer. Mit der Einheit.
Ah ja.
Yes? Sure, I can do that.
Mr. Gray.
You've been lying to us.
You see, Mr. Gray, when somebody confesses, trying to help and all, but mixes in a lot of bull, well, we get frustrated. And me personally, I get cranky when I get frustrated.
But we're willing to give you a chance to put us in a better mood.
Ja.
So let's play truth or dare. Just leave out the dare part.
Wer ist der überhaupt?
Yeah, name rings a bell. I think maybe he lives in my neighborhood. Don't get to know your neighbors like in the old days.
Maybe you need a distinguishing characteristic of Mr. Gins to jog your memory. Like his being a convicted drug dealer, for instance?
And Mr. Gins is trying to be cooperative, too. He started by telling us you're one of his clients.
Warum sind denn da die Fingerabdrücke drauf?
Well, like I said, he's a neighbor. I think he might have borrowed my mower.
Ja.
Look, I really didn't want to have to get into this. I'm going to level with you, really cooperate. But just remember, what I'm about to share with you could get me in hot water.
Was?
I have a drug problem. A way out of hand drug problem. Which is why my business has gone to pot, so to speak. Stan Gins is my supplier. Lately, Gins had been showing up at strange hours, and he'd bring his low-life friends along, partying at my place. Just sickening. On the night of the fire, I made a decision. No more associating with scumbags like Stan Gins. So I fired him. He didn't take it very well. He was really PO'd, bent out of shape. Plus, I'm sure he was high at the time, which didn't help. While I was in my office, Gins must have gone to my shed, looking to see what kind of grief he could give me. There was a knock at the door, and I opened it. And damn if it wasn't Gins, glaring at me, brandishing a blazing Molotov cocktail he'd thrown together. He was out of control. He threw the bottle, smashed my window to fan the flames, and took off. I ran out to my shed and grabbed the fire extinguisher. But then the wheels started turning. I could make the best of this bad situation if I rigged the scene to implicate Richie. I didn't want my drug problem exposed. And at the same time, I knew that if I implicated Gins, he'd kill me for sure. I'd be protecting myself and taking a competitor down with me at the same time. After the fire was out, I cleaned up the broken window, knowing I needed to make it look like a break-in to hide what had really happened. I tried to get all the bits of glass I could find and brush the dirt off before tossing them back into the office. And that's the whole sad, stupid, but true story. I tried to save my reputation. How am I doing so far?
Well, both you and Gins will be going away all right. And you do have something in common. Neither one of you can hold on to his clients.
Papa.
We should have another chat with our friendly neighborhood drug dealer.
Ah, ja. Genau, dann sprechen wir nochmal mit dem.
Ja, damit der auch ins Gefängnis
Need me
kann.
for something? Sure, I can do that.
So, hier, der Brand und so.
Listen, you play with drugs, you get high. Play with fire, you get burned. No percentage in the latter.
Ist das ein Geständnis?
Hey, I said I was out catching some air. I may have walked by his house, but that's all.
You know, Gray might have covered for you once upon a time. But you try to burn somebody's house down, and the loyalty gets strained.
Going off on a good customer like that? You got a hot temper, Mr. Gins.
Go to hell. I've got plenty of customers, but he torqued me off. Guy thinks he's better than me. He said my friends were scum.
Ja.
Imagine that.
Ich meine,
I should have torched him, not his crib.
das war ein Geständnis.
Smart mouth looking down on me.
So doof.
And him, the degenerate doper.
Thank you, Mr. Gins. That's what we call a confession around our little store.
Ta-ta.
And you know how nice it is having another satisfied customer?
Ja.
Looks like a
Gelöst,
solid
ne?
arson case against Gins. As for the high-flying Mr. Gray, he'll come down to earth with obstruction of justice, arson, and insurance fraud charges. By the way, trainee, nice work out there.
Danke.
But take some time to throw back a cold one after work and relax. This job can be hell on your personal life. Now, go see Grissom. He wants to see you.
Sounds like you showed some good instinct out
Jetzt
there.
kommt die Bewertung.
But before you let it go to your head,
Zeugnis.
let's take a closer look at how you did. You investigated every
Wow,
possible angle on this case.
100%!
It
Meister,
doesn't happen often.
Ja,
I'm impressed.
Meister,
wir
extra
haben
10 von
ja
10.
Gil Grissom beeindruckt.
Werden wir Verbrechen gestern und heute auch genauso gut meistern können?
Und morgen und übermorgen
Das und vieles mehr.
erfahren wir in der nächsten Folge.